Husker doesn't belong in the Hazbin Hotel. It's basically a meme at this point. The Helliverse is home to some of the worst ways to portray certain character types within writing. Whether that be victims to overlords, this franchise has become infamous for its messy handling of certain characters, where only a few years ago they were once praised for being so different, to now being ridiculed for being too similar. There's been a clear shift in the consensus around the Helliverse, with a ever-growing, overly toxic hatedom who will take any chance they get in order to rip into anything this series does. And while a lot of it is deserved, I think it's about time we looked beyond the easy punching bags and instead take a look behind the curtain in order to finally give credit to someone who is, simply put, so smooth, so clean, and so memorable in his portrayal that I can't help but smile every time he's on screen. Someone who has the opportunity to change everything by proving the doubters wrong, by proving that Spindlehorse are not washed up. In fact, I'd go so far to say that this individual may just be the one who will set a new gold standard moving forward, for not only Hazbin Hotel, but Bibsy Pop's work in general. Mark the date. October 2025, the Hazbin Hotel crew take the stage once again, but among the sea of over-designed hype jobs or wasted potential, there's one person in particular who we all need to be keeping our eyes on closely. Because they just may be the one to prove the doubters wrong, to show everyone that Hazbin Hotel can not only make a good character, but fantastic characters. So allow me to let this cat out the bag already, by first asking the question, why doesn't Husker belong in the Hazbin Hotel?
I was an overlord once, you know, and it was nice to have that power. But when you're dealing in souls, while also being a gambler, the stakes are pretty high. So I know what it's like to regret the choices made, and knowing you can't take it back.
But before we can begin to answer that question, we first need to figure out, who is Husker? Well, from what we've seen, he's one of the many unfortunate people who work for Alistair, eagerly selling their souls in order to try and gain something without realizing that they lose everything in the process. Husker is just another one of these unlucky souls, who's summoned by Alistair in order to work as a bartender at the Hazbin Hotel itself. He's grouchy, he's judgmental, he sees through every disguise or facade, able to stare right into your soul to see the real you, because simply put, he's seen every type of demon there is, and unlike almost every other character, he tends to keep to himself, in more ways than just one. He rarely gets close or shows any real emotion beyond being miserable. He's what you might call the straight man out of the entire cast. While everyone is either energetic or silly, he remains surprisingly grounded and rooted in his way of life. This decision to have Husker be the straight man not only helps him stand out in a room full of energetic and passionate characters, but it makes so much of what he does have an even bigger impact. Whether it be a cheeky line of dialogue here or a well-timed animated gag there, Husker's dry personality is refreshing among all the other characters, as while they're so often full of life, Husker is the exact opposite, a man so drained of joy, drained of happiness. He's in fact the perfect contrast writing-wise, as he serves multiple purposes. On a narrative level, not only is he making everyone stand out more when they are with him, but he also at the same time brings forth real depth and evolution into the other characters, being a figure who's able to boost not only the comedic elements, but the narrative ones as well. And this task, as you could probably imagine, is not an easy thing to do. It not only requires good writing, but a fantastic performer. one who's able to strike a fine line of not only cynical, but experience, without them coming across as too overtly cruel and ignorant. And Husker's VA, the legendary Keith David, not only finds that line, but he dances on it perfectly. Now hold on, peeps. Do you want to be featured in a video? Just like the Lego Sonic and Darren Show, Sparkles TV, and the autistic SMG4 fan? Then listen up, because you need to subscribe right now. I'm on a mission to get to 20,000 subscribers as soon as possible, and I need your help in order to do that. So, if you want to help me on my mission and get a shout out, then you need to subscribe right now. Join the Pink Nation and comment down below saying you subscribed, and who knows, it might just be your name that's the one featured in the very next video. But with that, let's get back to Husk. One thing that has always impressed me about these shows is often the voice performers themselves, as despite the very inconsistent writing they often find themselves having, they manage to find a way to inject a healthy amount of life into the roles, with Keith David being one of the best examples doing this. His voice works so well for Husker that it actually boosts the material he's working with. In fact, there's so many scenes to choose from where we see this element at play with Husker, such as when he's at the club with everyone else, or his constant bickering with Angel Dust, or even him standing up to Alistair. But the one I wanted to look at was this scene, just before the Loser Baby song number. This one particular moment is actually really quite brilliant on every single level. The animation, as always, is clean and crisp, plus the striking lack of music in this scene, with the only real noise that we hear being in the background, stuff like cars driving past or city ambience. That is not only a fantastic way to draw attention to what the characters are saying, but it makes it hit all the harder, because while most of the series is with over-the-top loud booming music and goofy moments, this moment in particular is strikingly silent, grounding it from the more unserious aspects to the show, helping it feel more genuine. And as this scene continues on, instead of playing over-the-top evil music, they instead play very subtle, unnerving tunes, and a few carefully chosen sound effects that end up heightening the dread of the scene and adding a sense of avoidable tragedy as we see how Husker truly lost his soul to Alistair. But what sells this scene properly, the thing that makes it just so good, is the line delivery by Keith David, because if done by a lesser actor, it would have been so unfathomably easy to make this scene feel like a desperate attempt to garner pity from the audience. After all, Husker didn't need to gamble his soul away. That was entirely his fault. His own actions resulted in him being here. So why should we as an audience feel sorry for him? But with the performance by Keith David, this scene goes from self-pity to one of unfortunate circumstance, as in his performance we can tell that he knows exactly why he's here. It's his own fault. It's his fault that he's working for Alistair, and so instead of trying to get sympathy for it, it comes across as someone who's opening up, sharing his unfortunate position through the guise of trying to connect with Angel Dust, trying to find common ground, showing that even an overlord can make mistakes akin to that of lesser sinners. Keith transforms this scene through his careful vocalization, and so both makes us sympathetic towards him and feel invested in him, as we see despite his circumstances, he's here trying to help someone who he doesn't even deem to be a friend. It's a selfless act rather than a selfish one. But while all of this, everything we discussed here today is all well and good, it doesn't quite answer my question from the start of this video. That being, why doesn't Husker belong in the Hazbin Hotel? What does this question mean? Well, It all lies within his backstory. Husker used to be an overlord, just like Alistair. He used to be a powerful figure of high status. He used to encourage the sin that the hotel tries to rectify. Heck, he even still does to an extent by being a bartender who serves alcohol. Husker, by all accounts, just doesn't fit in, not only backstory wise, but personality wise also. He's so much more cynical and harsh. He does not care about anything or anyone, unlike all the other characters who have something they care about. He does not have a mask he hides behind. He's not trying to do anything, whether it be staying bad or trying to redeem himself. He does and aspires to do nothing. By all accounts, he's nothing like everyone else. He does not belong within the Hazbin Hotel by definition. And yet, it is here, peeps, where I feel Husker truly shines as a character, because despite him having no real reasons for being here beyond the superficial, despite going against everything the hotel believes in, he actually ends up being someone that the hotel desperately needed. Someone with a lot of emotional baggage that is able to recognize truth within others. Being someone who can point out all the flaws and issues of others, say it how it is, but also find a way to equal that playing field, helping others by being straightforward with them and himself. In short, Husker not belonging in the hotel is, in fact, the very thing that makes him so critical to it. And that's the type of brilliant writing that for the most part will go unnoticed, but in hindsight is super necessary. And so while there's a lot to hate with Hazbin Hotel, you have to give it credit where it's due, because stuff like Husker is such a tricky thing to get right, and I believe that is why Husker is so great. He ironically was a major gamble for this series. The wrong voice actor or the wrong setup could have ruined everything. The slightest change could have made him a disaster. They could have failed what they were striving for, but unlike Husker with Alistair, this gamble paid off massively. So even if you're someone who absolutely hates this series, someone who absolutely despises Vivzy Pop, you have to admit, this cat is pretty cool. But what do you peeps think? What do you think about Husker as a character? Do you agree with my takes, or do you differ in opinion to me? Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this video and want to see me break down more characters just like this, then subscribe and tell me in the comments what other Helververse characters I should analyze next. But with that, peeps, it's been the Pink King here, and I will see you all next time.